Good morning. I'd like to call to order the Human Resources Appointment and Equity Committee, Tuesday, March 17th, St. Patty's Day. Can you call the roll, please?
Calling the roll, Ms. Conwell.
Here.
Mr. Gallagher.
Here.
Mr. Germana.
Here.
Mr. Miller.
Here.
Ms. Brown.
Here.
We have a quorum.
Has anyone signed in for public comment?
No, Madam Chair, no one has signed in.
And if I can have a motion to approve the minutes from the March 3rd, 2015 meeting?
I so move.
Second.
All in favor say aye. Aye. Minutes have been approved. We have two items referred to the committee today. They are, one is a reappointment, and then we have two new appointments. And Chrissy, if you could remind me which one needs to be past second reading suspension? Is it the reappointment?
Resolution 2015-0055.
Okay. So if the committee members can make note of that as the discussions ensue. If you could read the first item into the agenda, please.
Resolution 2015-0054, a resolution confirming the county executive's reappointment of Joseph Gibbons to serve on the Cuyahoga Arts and Culture Board of Trustees for the term 4/1/2015 through 3/31/2018, and declaring the necessity that this resolution become immediately effective.
Thank you. Is Mr. Gibbons here this morning? If you could come up to the to this podium. Now, I always like to make a statement that this committee truly feels that those that are getting reappointed as well as appointed to any committee is very good to come before this committee, not just for us, but for those Cuyahoga County residents that are watching, so they know who is sitting in these roles, and maybe it would also spur them to want to sign up for some boards. So, Mr. Gibbons, without further ado, if you could share with this committee this morning a little bit about yourself. I don't know, did you come before us before? Okay, I apologize for not recognizing you. If you could share with this committee a little bit of what you've done since you've been on the board, your first term.
Thank you. First thing I have to say is good morning and happy St. Patrick's Day to everybody. So I don't forget, I want to thank you for your time and consideration for this appointment. Oh, there we go. My name is Joe Gibbons. My profession is I'm an attorney. I'm a partner with the law firm Schneider, Smeltz, Ranny, and LaFond. I've been practicing law for about 35 years. Blows my mind to say that. And my interest spawns from two things. One is I have had a yearning for public service, although it's never been a full-time thing. I was a city councilman in Lakewood, have served on numerous boards and commissions. I was the chairman of the board of a small school called Lakewood Catholic Academy when it was first formed, and I felt like we were trying to run Ohio State. It was a very eye-opening experience. I'm currently on the Lakewood Hospital Board. We've got a lot on our plate and spending a lot of time on that matter. I'm on the Lakewood Planning Commission, and I had the good fortune and pleasure to have been appointed to the Cuyahoga Arts and Culture Board a year ago. And I came before you at that time, gave you a little bit of my background, and I think I was recommended to the board by the mayor of Lakewood, Mike Summers, and possibly the director of the Beck Center. And I'm not an artist, but I have had a lifelong appreciation of the arts. My wife and I attend numerous arts and cultural events. We've been longtime subscribers to the Playhouse, and I could go on about this. My wife is a performer. She's been in numerous community theater productions. After watching her for about 20 years or so, I finally decided to take a shot myself, and I've been in several productions. My proudest moment, I got to play George Bailey in It's a Wonderful Life a couple of years ago. I think that I kind of get it as far as how important arts and culture is to our community. It's not only from a hard financial standpoint, where it's important to attract and retain people to our area, but also it's a quality of life. And You know, it's funny because you think about these things, you know, I don't appear before bodies like this very often, and, you know, I take it very seriously, and I've given a lot of thought to it. And a lot of these comments I'm making, they were what I thought a year ago, and I'm kind of re-expressing them. And now the thing that's different from the last time I was before you is I've had the pleasure of serving on the board for a year, and I'm happy to say that I not only still feel the same way, but my feelings about the importance of arts and culture to our community are really enhanced. And I think it's the arts and culture, Cuyahoga Arts and Culture is a wonderful thing. I know it's unique in the country, and I think it does very, very valuable work. And I learned a lot. I wasn't, you know, entirely aware of the process. One thing that I want to mention is in my career, I represent a lot of small, closely held businesses, and I represent a lot of people acting in a trustee or other fiduciary capacity. And I am keenly aware of the importance of the fact that we're dealing with the public's funds, and that the importance of transparency and the importance of our fiduciary obligation. And I think to have someone on a board with you know, some business background and can, you know, understand a financial statement is important as well. My past year on the board has been educational and rewarding for me. Gotten to understand the process much more. I hope that I've added some value with my opinions and my votes on issues before us. And I'm grateful for your consideration for the reappointment. Thank you.
Any questions from the committee? Councilman Miller.
Thank you very much for your service to the arts and culture community, and for coming back for reappointment. In some of the Eastern cultures, crisis and opportunity are two sides of the same thing, and I think the challenge that we have in arts and culture is that we have assets that we inherited from the time where Cleveland was one of the largest cities in the world, and so we have world-class assets, but we're no longer of the same size, and the challenge is for a community that's moderate in size to maintain and improve these high quality assets. And the question I have is are you aware of any of our community's cultural assets being in financial trouble?
You mean municipally owned, or do you mean any arts?
I mean any. I'm primarily talking about institutions that are not municipally owned. I'm talking about the Arts Museum, the History Museum, the theaters,
Well, yeah, I can think of one theater that could be on firmer financial footing, and I probably want to check with Karen. Is it Dobama? Is it? Yeah. Yeah, maybe Karen could probably give a more educated response to your question. But there is part of the process for institutions coming to Cuyahoga Arts and Culture for funds is an application process, and what they have to establish is a certain degree of financial stability, which, you know, at first I probably didn't understand it as well as I do now, but it's important that if we're going to, you know, distribute funds to an entity, we have to have some degree of confidence that the funds will be applied as intended and not get, you know, sucked up by that entity's creditors or misappropriated in some fashion. So as part of that process, you know, the applicants have to provide financial information. And it's funny because one of the things that in my discussions with the Cuyahoga Arts and Culture staff, asked them about, and I don't know if there's any statistics for this, but anecdotally, I think they would agree that having arts and cultural organizations go through a process where they have to kind of open up their books and have someone explain, how important it is to budget and to make certain that they have sufficient, funds to meet their capital needs, their operating needs, and so forth. In the long run, it may be painful in some respects, but it's also very beneficial to the organization, because a lot of arts and cultural organizations are spawned out of just a love of whatever their medium happens to be, and they may not necessarily have a great deal of financial background or appreciation. So as part of this process, the first year may be a little more difficult, but at the end of the process, they're usually on firmer financial footing, and not only because of the funds they get from Cuyahoga Arts and Culture, because of a better appreciation. So there is, a theater that, I can remember we had a discussion about one community theater that was struggling, and it's a challenge.
If an institution is properly taking care of their finances, but they're in a situation where they just really need money, is that a factor in when we do the allocations, or is financial need not a consideration in responding to applications?
Well, Karen, help me if I'm in trouble here on this, but there's two primary types of awards from Cuyahoga Arts and Culture. One is for general operating support, and I suppose the best way to do it is they do have to show financial stability, and there has to be a history of financial stability. So you can't just create your organization and then come request the funds. You could imagine, I forget, what is it, 3 years or so. And then the other type of application is for project support, and then that's got a different set of criteria that is evaluated. And through that process, you get to see, they need the funds, but it's, if it's for operating support, they have to show, that they are stable, but these funds will help enhance their delivery of the, whatever it is they're providing in an arts and cultural sense. And then the project support grants are more along the lines of specific events. And so they have to show that they're a legitimate organization, that they can do what it is they hope to do. And because we all want success, we want it to work, and we don't want the funds to be misapplied. And even if people are well-meaning, we have to go through the process to make certain that they can do what they intend or hope to do.
Has the Board of Trustees made a decision as to whether to request that the renewal levy be placed on the ballot this November as opposed to another date?
My understanding is that we hope to present you with a resolution, the county council, to request that the issue be put on the ballot this November. We acknowledge and appreciate that it is your decision, and we hope to place that resolution before you following our meeting on April 13th. Yes.
Okay, I would just make a comment that this is a year in which the county does not otherwise have elections, and so as a result of that, there is additional election expense to place an issue on the ballot this year as opposed to next year. But I would also mention that the Board of Elections has recently revised their allocation formula, and it's in the direction that the amount of additional expense is less than it would have been under the prior formula. So so that's something that we're going to have to weigh in terms of. I would I would certainly state that I believe that the arts and culture both enriches us as a community and also has a strong economic development benefit. So I strongly support renewal of the levy and will actively be working for it. The question of timing still has to be resolved. Thanks, Madam Chair.
Councilman Germana?
Thank you very much, Madam Chair. Thank you for your willing to serve. I'm going to just relate some of my experience and throw something out and see what your reaction to it is. And initially, with the statement that I've been a patron of the Greenbrier Theater, which is now the Cassidy Theater, for over 35 years. And we always brought my children, and now we have a policy of bringing our granddaughters to any play that's suitable. And my perception of the audience is it's getting grayer and grayer. And I think it's so important for the youth to have an opportunity to see these cultural events and plays so that it just doesn't become a senior thing. So I think there should be some incentive of giving them funding for people that are somehow encouraging youth attendance. What do you feel of that idea?
Well, first thing I want to mention is I was in 3 different plays at Greenbrier. It's a great facility. One of them was Little Abner, and we had a very young audience and following to that. But Greenbrier is kind of unique in that it's got a very, very strong subscription. You know, there's a lot of people that sign up for season. They've done a great job cultivating their audience. But I couldn't agree with you more. And in fact, one of the things, like a personal goal of mine with regard to Cuyahoga Arts and Culture Board in general, is to try to get more people to all the events, and just not because that's the future. If they're, I felt the same way when I was, at LCA in Lakewood. We're trying to get more people, more support from the parishes because we need youth. It's the regeneration like anything else. But I don't mean to make this so personal, but my wife was just in Mary Poppins at the Beck Center, and just to tell you, I think a lot has to do with the type of show you have, because I went to several productions, and there were more kids at this thing than you could shake a stick at. It was really something. So sometimes it's the nature of the show that you put on, and that might be but I think it's a good point. It's so funny. Art is, and we don't really, I guess that's a conversation that we could have on the board level as to trying to incentivize, access. Because for me, particularly since the dollars we're talking about are public dollars, I really think it's important that we make access available to every resident, to try to encourage people who might not think of seeing this cultural event, and some people just think, well, I'll never go to Severance Hall or whatever, or maybe someone, I'll never go to Greenbrier, but maybe that would be more in the lines of education and marketing and so forth. Because I think by and large, at least in my life experience, when people do see a good show, whatever it happens to be, or a good art, showing or whatever, they enjoy it and they go back. So you have to get them in the door. But it's an interesting comment. Intuitively, I agree with it. We have to keep the audience coming and, have that new generation learn to appreciate it and hopefully attend.
Thank you.
Councilwoman Brown?
Thank you. Mr. Gibbons, I wanted to know, I kind of want to piggyback or follow up off of Councilman Miller's question with regards to the arts and culture being placed on the ballot. Aside from timing, from your perspective, do you see any other challenges that that we might face as a council by putting that back on the ballot?
I can't pretend to know. For me, from my perspective, I'm not aware of any. But I'm not, all that attuned to some of the issues that may be bouncing around out there. There was a lot of, publicity and so forth about the recent, the tax that was passed for the stadiums, for the sports teams and so on. And, from a timing standpoint, that I suppose there could be some backlash. I don't know if that affects you folks, but, that might be somewhat of a concern. So our goal, the board and the campaign will be to hopefully get people to appreciate that this has been a wonderful thing and will continue to be a wonderful thing that really benefits everybody. And that would be worth the while to pass it again.
Any other questions? Mr. Gibbons, are there any committees made up out of the Board of Trustees? Do you have any various committees or?
Subcommittees? Not really. It's a pretty small board, and so we just get together pretty much as a board. There have been a couple times where individuals have looked more closely at one issue or another, but I don't think there's any formal. Oh, audit and finance, right?
So just one
Just the one,
subcommittee?
right.
So does every member sit on that? Every board? No.
No, Madam Chairman, Steve Minter from our board sits on that committee with some other community volunteers.
And Mr. Gibbons, my final question, it states candidates for this board, at least 2 board members must be individuals who devote a major portion of their time performing or teaching any of the arts. Do you fall in that category?
No,
Okay.
I can't say that. I used to when my wife was a teacher and drama director at Magnificat High School, and I probably spent more time there building sets and so forth. And but no.
All right. Well, we're thankful for your commitment to serve. You had one year you've served
Yes, ma'am.
already, and this will be a full 3-year term. How many years in each term? Is it 3?
3 is
3-year
my
terms?
understanding, yes.
Okay. So you replaced someone last time?
Correct.
All right. Any further questions from the committee? Not hearing any. Anything else you'd like to share with us, Mr. Gibbons?
No, again, thanks for your time and consideration.
All right, thank you. Was your wife Mary Poppins?
No,
No?
she was the bird lady.
Okay, okay.
Feed the birds.
All right. Well, I'd like to make a motion to move R2015-0054 to the Committee of the Whole, second reading.
Second.
All in favor, say aye. Aye. Thank you,
Thank you.
Mr. Gibbons, again. All right, if you could read the next item into the record, please.
Resolution 2015-0055, a resolution confirming the county executive's appointment or reappointment of various individuals to serve on the Cuyahoga Community College Board of Trustees for the term 1/17/2015 through 1/16/2020, and declaring the necessity that this resolution become immediately effective for the individuals as printed on the agenda.
All right, good morning to both of you, Ms. Fields and Mr. Kelshner. How do you pronounce it? Kelsheimer. All right, any preference who goes first? All right, you were number 1 anyway, so come on up, Ms. Helen. And Ms. Forbes Fields is actually a new member being appointed to the committee. So if you could please share with us why you would like to be a part of this Board of Trustees for the committee and what you would bring to it, we'd appreciate it.
Okay, thank you. Thank you for asking me to appear before your committee, Madam Chair, and as well as the committee. I have a few prepared remarks, if that's okay.
That's fine.
Okay. I appreciate the invitation and am happy to address my pending appointment to the Tri-C Board. When I received a call about a month ago from County Executive Budish to consider a trustee seat on the Tri-C Board, I was very moved and happy to consider the appointment. I believe in the broader mission of the institution to provide high-quality educational opportunities to the greater Cleveland community. In fact, I have witnessed the mission firsthand with family members. I believe the key to improve an individual's quality of life is through education, and I believe my varied experience and background as an attorney can add value to the organization. And may I just add that I happen to have 3 children, 2 of whom are college graduates and work in Washington, D.C., and my younger son is scheduled to graduate, with fingers crossed, from Morehouse College in May. So obviously, education means a great deal to me and my family. And my daughter is also seeking a master's degree in public health currently. I possess qualities that I believe will make me a good candidate for the board. I have substantial experience serving on nonprofit boards within the greater Cleveland community, and I have served in leadership capacities within those boards. I presently serve on the Board of Trustees of the Cleveland Museum of Art and the Museum of Contemporary Art. I serve on the executive committees for both of those institutions. I also chair 2 committees at the Cleveland Museum of Art. Further, I serve on the advisory board of the Spelman College Museum of Art in Atlanta, Georgia. So I am very aware of organizational issues that involve colleges. My professional experience will also make me a good candidate to serve on the board. I have practiced law and represented clients in multiple areas for nearly 30 years. I have demonstrated the ability to exercise legal judgment, analyze and assess risk, and timely provide practical recommendations and guidance to my clients on all levels of organizations. I am widely regarded as an efficient and effective negotiator and drafter of documents with a meticulous attention to detail. I have proven organizational skills and the capacity to thrive and survive under pressure, which has been a lifelong event for me. As a result of all of the above, I hope you will consider my appointment to the Cuyahoga Community College Board of Trustees. Thank you very much.
Questions from the committee? Councilman Germana.
Thank you, Madam Chair. I just want to give you my life experience. I have 4 children. Both my daughters had situations where they started in the school and then came home and went to Tri-C when they came home. And I can tell you that they did not miss a beat. It's been fabulous results for both of my children. And so I think, that's important. It's the degree of challenge with honor and I don't want to say particular classes. A lot of people think community college is something not as efficient as regular college, but that's not the case with Tri-C. I mean, my experience has been excellent. So I think that's important, especially due to the fact that practically all the courses that they've taken have been transferable. And so in both cases, my daughters went back on to further get their college degrees and have been very successful.
I almost feel as if this is full circle for me. I remember my father many years ago was very concerned about Tri-C students and whether their credits would be fully accepted at Cleveland State and other institutions. So he was pretty much on the forefront many, many years ago about that issue. So it's kind of full circle to now be suggested to serve on this board. And I've had family members who have attended Tri-C and finished the program and have had such confidence instilled in them as a result of receiving that degree and moving on to Cleveland State as well. So it's been wonderful to see that as well in my own family experience.
I guess the other thing, the quality of your instructors. In my older daughter Gigi's experience, she was in art, and her instructor there was Shirley Campbell, who also at the same time was an instructor at the Cleveland Institute of Art, and actually was pushing to have her apply to Cleveland Institute of Art. Because of what she saw in my daughter. It ended up she went to Kent and went into fashion design and is now in New York City. But that was extraordinary to have high caliber instructors like that, and I think it's important. I just wanted to relay that to you.
I actually served on the Cleveland Institute of Arts board in the early 90s. So I've been involved in higher education for some years.
Councilman Miller?
Good morning.
Morning,
Thank
Darryl.
you. Thank you very much for coming in and for your willingness to serve. And my belief is that the community colleges have done as much as any other institution to enable more people to move into the middle class and to expand opportunities for more people to participate successfully in our economic system, and to take that opportunity a step farther. I would be interested in your opinion about the proposal that President Obama recently made to provide tuition-free community college education universally in this country.
Well, I think I mentioned earlier about I have a strong belief that higher education certainly provides the pathway for individuals to move beyond their current situation, and as you mentioned, move into the middle class and beyond. So I know student loans are a huge issue for students who face many years of paying back those loans after they even serve or after they have attended higher education institutions. And I think this measure would only help people enter into higher education and further their lives. I think the debt that many people incur is a huge albatross around their neck as they try to start their lives over and begin anew. So I'm very supportive of that type of measure. Good. And I think Tri-C is one of the has the lowest tuition, I believe, in the state. So they're certainly a leading institution that way to help students and graduates once they're out of the program to be able to further their lives beyond, So thank you. Very supportive of that.
I have a couple questions. Have you visited the various campuses, Tri-C campuses? yet?
Not all of them. I'm a new suggested appointee. I have certainly been on the main campus. I have been at the Eastern campus and also over at the corporate college. I've been on those campuses. But I have not been to the Western campus, and I believe the West Shore campus. I have not been to those just yet.
And are those in your plans to visit?
Oh,
those?
absolutely.
And I guess my concern would be, I would like to see colleges today matching up coursework more towards the high demand that our technology is going. We still have political science degree, not downing any certain degrees, but just looking at the trends, it seems like education is moving slow in matching up coursework and how we're going. So,
Keeping track of where we are today, I think it's
Right.
very key for institutions to do that. otherwise they wither on the vine. I know there's a lot of discussion now about whether higher education is even needed. I'm not part of that group and that mindset, but I do think institutions have to keep track of what's going on today and keep the coursework very consistent and very engaged in what's going on with society today.
Well, we're very thankful for your commitment to serve. It's 5 years.
I understand that.
Councilwoman Brown.
I just want to make a comment as a graduate of Tri-C. I'm very excited for you to join the Board of Trustees, and it is a great institution, as Councilman Germana indicated, and it's certainly established a solid foundation for me and being able to do what I'm doing currently in this role. So I'd just like to follow up with what Councilwoman Conwell said. If we could work on developing some trends where we can marry the current need of jobs, the jobs that are in high demand right now, and I'm sure you and the President Johnson will make a good team in developing those things. So I want to congratulate you on the pending appointment, and hopefully you will be serving on that board once the council makes the vote. So I just wanted to share that. Thank you.
Thank you, Ms. Brown.
Any further questions from the committee? Councilman Germana.
I just want to add, I'm from Parma, and the Western Campus is what I'm familiar with. What is really important is, the nursing program that you have at the Tri-C West. I don't know if it's available in the other, but I know Parma Hospital works with the nursing program, and as far as scholarships and so forth. But the new public service firefighters, paramedics, and police training facilities you have there are top-notch. They just opened this past year. So what's important is Tri-C has moved for training in high-demand positions. And I think that just besides the academic part of it, where it's real jobs, real training, that they could move in and take the positions that are needed. How do you feel about those comments?
Well, I absolutely agree, and I think that's a continuation of what we've discussed earlier. And all universities need to keep track of what's trending, what the job market is here in the greater Cleveland community. And ultimately, to get an education, you want to get a job, right? And so the university has to be, or the college has to be very aware of that and keep track of those trends. So if I am confirmed, I will make sure that that's the first comment I make to President Johnson about the comments that have been made here by the committee.
Thank you, Ms. Forbes. Anything else Forbes Fields? Is there anything else that you would like to share with this committee?
No, I think that's fine.
All
Thank you
right.
very much for having me.
You're more than welcome to come down Tuesday night if you to see the committee of the whole vote. If not, you can watch us live stream.
Okay, all right. Thank you very much.
Thank you. Mr. Kelsheimer. Good morning.
Good morning.
And since you have been on this is a reappointment, if you could share with the committee some of the things that you have worked on this board, how long you have served in that capacity, and are you signing up for another 5 years?
I am. Thank you, Madam Chair.
Thank you.
to the committee, and congratulations. Wonderful job, Ms. Forcefield. I'm happy to. Just a little bit about myself. And I have not been before this committee before. I was appointed, I think, roughly four and a half years ago. I am a father of four, married nearly 25 years to a Tri-C graduate recently. Actually, my wife just finished an associate's degree at Tri-C, went on and got a bachelor's degree from Cleveland State. And a resident of Northeast Ohio. We live in Westlake. I've been up here since 2001, and I guess in my professional life, I'm a banker. I'm president and CEO of Fifth Third Bank of Northeast Ohio. Previously was the president of Huntington Banks here in Northeast Ohio. In terms of my engagement with Tri-C, it is a heart passion for me. My parents were both school teachers. My dad was an industrial arts teacher and at a high school, and my mother was a kindergarten teacher for 34 years. And as I went about my academic way, I found myself working through school, borrowing money, and supported by scholarships, and now fortunate and blessed to be in a position where we can and do need to support others. Had found Tri-C Foundation actually now more than 10 years ago as a true heart passion. So I've been around Tri-C, I think now 12 years. Still in the executive committee of the foundation. I was the chair of the foundation board for 4 years at various periods. I'm the immediate past chair of the Cuyahoga Community College Board. I've served for a little over 4 years. Served on management committee, community affairs committee, audit committee, and various ad hoc committees. Extremely proud of our new president, having led through the transition in leadership, Dr. Thornton to Dr. Johnson, and also thrilled and grateful for the community support and having passed our levy here last fall, which was a big deal for the college and I think the community. The mission of the college: affordable education, access to education, workforce development and training. Essentially scholarship for our community and the support of our overall economy. I think are all extremely critical to us here in Northeast Ohio. This isn't my only civic leadership engagement. I've contrasted often. I'm very active with United Way. I'm on the executive committee of Charity United Way campaign here in Northeast Ohio and Greater Cleveland, and today chair administration and operations function at United Way. And I've said often there isn't enough safety net in our community to take care of those who deserve and desire greater quality of life if we don't educate our community. And as such, have been and will continue to remain committed to affordable education. In terms of other things, other areas of involvement, I'm currently vice chair of the board of University Hospital's Case Medical Center, serve on President's Advisory Committee there, Rainbow Babies Hospital Committee or Advisory Committee. Rainbow Foundation Committee, Nominating Committee at University Hospitals. I'm a director of University Hospitals Health Systems. As indicated, engaged and involved with United Way here in the community. I'm a member of the board of Greater Cleveland Partnership. I'm on the executive committee and a trustee with Cleveland Development Advisors. Chair the investment committee for Cleveland Development Advisors here in Northeast Ohio. I'm on the board of Destination Cleveland, currently chairing our wayfinding project, getting ready for convention in 2016, and helping people find their way around our great community. And lastly, amongst other things, I'm on the advisory committee to the athletic department at Cleveland State, which is with basketball at Cleveland State being a heart passion of mine and our family. So I'm honored to have served for a number of years and gracious for the opportunity to continue to be of service and certainly committed to remain engaged, involved, and be a prudent and appropriate leader and steward of community resources as we move forward relative to Tri-C.
Any questions from the committee? Councilman Mike Gallagher? We haven't heard from you this morning, so.
Well, keep my powder dry. Mr. Kalsheimer, I saw Fifth Third, and I don't know if you served with the Honorable Tom Persiak, the greatest mayor in Northeast Ohio. Did you?
He actually had retired before I started.
Did he? He's a
Although I speak to him from time to time, he's
He's a great guy. I served with him out in Strongsville. Earlier discussions with Ms. Forbes Fields, I've always wondered about this because I started at Tri-C and it was $19 an hour. Cleveland State was $21 an hour. And being frugal back in those days, $2 was a big deal to me. So how did it get out of control? What's the difference between 1975 and 6 and today, other than that I can see the physical plants of these universities trying to outdo one another with bigger and better coffee shops? What's the difference? What happened here? Is there an answer to these escalating costs that no one seems to go after? I mean, everybody worries about everything else in society going up, but the cost of education has certainly gone a lot higher, faster, quicker than a loaf of bread. What is there an answer to this?
Well, it's not a short one, but I can give you some personal opinion and perspective. The thing I would start with is I am pleased if you look at the relative increases, whether it's Cleveland State relative to Tri-C or other four-year institutions relative to Tri-C, going back to the 70s to today, there's a significant variance in the relative percentage growth in tuition. Tri-C, as mentioned earlier, is lowest tuition in the state, and as it relates to cost per credit hour, I think I think an incredible value proposition to our community. So things that I, as a business person, community leader, would say factor into increases in tuition. Capital is one of the contributing factors, and investments in capital. I default to my professional bias. I think management at times has something to do with that. How prudently you choose to manage a cost structure in your organizations and institutions affects ultimately. We look at institutions of higher learning, the cost to attend, supply and demand, I think is factored in. I think if we look at the education model in the country, and this again would be my personal opinion, we see attendance go up, and then over time, as there's a greater demand for the service or the product of education. Price points meet that demand point in terms of what somebody's at a point in time was willing to pay. Now, unfortunately, not necessarily capable of paying, and if not well managed, cost structures ultimately corrupt in institutions in reaction to the prices charged based on demand. Similar to other mature industries in the country, there are legacy costs that exist in human resource infrastructure that are real. As we think about pension and other benefit costs to factor in. But I can speak. My greatest point of reference is my time in and around Tri-C, and I can just speak to the diligence with which I believe it's not just the president's function, but executive leadership at Tri-C over a period of years has just been diligently conscious and I think thoughtful about making sure that the taxpayer dollars were resourcefully allocated, and that there is a responsibility to manage cost structures in an effective way. You can do that while you take care of faculty and staff. You can do that if you manage effectively while maintaining state-of-the-art resources and facilities. You can do that through collaboration with our communities and our corporate community to resource a college and provide a high-quality educational experience without necessarily having to significantly increase tuition over time.
It's I honestly, I see it as one of the great challenges, and everybody talks about the middle class, and I think they're all just full of it. I don't think anybody really knows what the middle class is. Take a picture of me. I'm the middle class when I was growing up. My father was blue collar, lunch pail kind of guy, and that really was middle class. And guys like me, I had to pay for my own high school and college, and I did. And then when I went back later on, I went to BW, and I had to take out paying loans back you can't imagine. at the age of 58, and my son just got out, and I started saving when they weren't even born. I started my 529 through the state, and that didn't cover it. I mean, it's just amazing to me. I see this as just a great challenge to the true middle class and those that need to go to college. I think that's part of the problem. A lot of people are going to college that don't necessarily need to be going to college. They're just told they have to go to college, and I see too many kids with no plan and big costs and nothing to show for it. So you do have a great challenge. I love Tri-C. I love what it does. I see it as a proving ground for those students that are truly engaged and have a vision of what they want to be and where they want to go. And I wish everybody would just start there as opposed to jumping, into the, both feet into the pool and not knowing what they're doing. So I'm a great supporter, and didn't graduate from there, but it got me to Cleveland State and eventually got me out. So last thing, I keep telling Senator Sweeney this, and Cleveland State needs football, has needed football. Love the basketball team, but if I hit the lottery, I'm going to give money to the football program. Thank you.
I've heard rumors about lacrosse, but not necessarily football. Thank you for your support.
Councilman Miller.
Thank you very much for coming in and for all the work that you do in our community. My first question in the back of my mind is when you get the banking work done. I also want to congratulate you on the tremendous work that Destination Cleveland has done. I attended the annual meeting yesterday, and I was just very encouraged that the percentage of people that have a favorable impression and make a favorable recommendation has gone up by 20 percentage points in 3 years, and we're just finally starting to believe in ourselves, and that just makes a big difference. So I appreciate the good work. I had a friend who ran for the state legislature, and he didn't make it, but he had what I thought was a good idea, and he was talking about kids taking college level courses in high school, and then going on to a community college and completing their associate's degree 1 year after their high school diploma, and I'm just wondering how many kids do we have that are already doing that? Is there very much of that going on already?
There is. I couldn't give you a specific number, but I could tell you it's many. It's many. I think one of the things that Dr. Thornton did during her tenure was established great relationships with the schools, both in the city and across the county and the suburban landscape as well. Investing in high school students, and I think as mentioned earlier, working to get kids onto a path where they could start to discover what their interests were, or they weren't, to start to experience school at a different level. Before being in a circumstance where there were where there truly were significant bills to pay, and I could tell you in some of the report outs that we've heard from staff functions at the college, it's been successful in terms of how students have performed and ultimately how they've progressed through the system as we go through the past 4 or 5 years. One of the things that I think we always need to stay conscious about too at Tri-C is it isn't necessarily the majority of the students at Tri-C that are conventional students. In fact, the majority of students at Tri-C are going to school part-time. They're working while they go to school. I think about employees of mine at the bank that spend their days at the bank and then in the evenings go to school, or they take afternoons off to take classes, or they go to classes on the weekend. Students like my wife who, after youngest child goes to full day kindergarten, she decides she wants to go back and get a degree, so she sits at a computer at night and takes classes online. Significant investment, as mentioned earlier, we talked about the police and fire facility, which is incredible. You go out there and drive a car sometime. It's an incredible facility experience. Four-year college, and for that matter, two-year college isn't for everybody. The investments made in practical workforce training, see a need in terms of job need in the community, and designing programs to fill that need are important. So, to your specific question, from a practical perspective, I think it's a great idea. My oldest did that, took some classes while he was in high school. And I know we felt fortunate that we were in a school system where he had that opportunity to do so. It actually is an affordable way to get college credit. It's a way to get started with college while remaining in a fairly structured environment, which I think is important for some kids who might not be as disciplined in their first year of college otherwise. And be in a position where there's support infrastructure available to help younger students get off on the right foot relative to their educational experience. Really important.
Thank you.
I should tell you, since we're on the record here. Yeah, how do I get my banking stuff done? My lights went on in the Fifth Third Building about 6 o'clock this morning. I'm usually in early and out late, so we find the time.
I'm working with County Executive Budish around the question of what we can do to expand the effectiveness and the availability of internship programs to give students real world work experience that hopefully leads to the creation of working relationships so that they don't take their talents to the South Beach when they're done with their education. And my question is, I know that Tri-C is currently does intern programs, and I'm wondering if you could just tell us a little bit about how many students are involved, how those programs work, what Tri-C's role is, if you could.
Sure. Yeah, and I think I would characterize Tracy's internship programs, in contrast to some of the four-year school internship programs, as being very practical, and especially if we think about the trades and some of the occupations that exist that are extremely important to our economy and yet don't require four-year degrees. The exposure to apprenticeships and opportunities to work in technical manufacturing environments, are practical needs in our community. I think that one of the things that I think Tri-C's done a great job of is looking past, perhaps some of the entities or companies or potential employers that tend to get more focus from four-year institutions. I would say looking past them, but looking beyond or more broadly than just the larger companies in town. So you'd see Tri-C with, at this point, really thousands of students, well into the hundreds, likely thousands of students out working in the entrepreneurial community with smaller and mid-sized companies where students are able to pick up practical job experience. So if I had a bit of perspective to offer relative to internships, I think sometimes we over-focus on the larger employers in the market as having available capacity to hire and to train and bring interns in. I think some of the greatest intern experiences can be when a student, be they young or not so young, goes into a smaller company environment and actually has good real serious work to do in an environment that's perhaps more, can be, more entrepreneurial in nature than you might find with some of the larger employers. I think both are good experiences, but there is a limit to the number of large companies in Northeast Ohio. You go from the hundreds into the thousands if you stretch your target for internships into the smaller and mid-sized companies, many of which can take great advantage of and really benefit from the value proposition that an intern has to offer.
Well, I appreciate those comments and the particular slant on this that we've developed within the council is very small business focused. So we're very much in line with what you're talking about. Thank you very much, Madam Chair.
Councilwoman Brown?
I was interested in knowing how many school districts are taking advantage of the dual program where they can receive college credits. Do you know?
I don't know.
Okay.
I could find out for you.
That would be awesome. And do you know how that might be determined? As I'm living in Warrensville, I don't think that is an opportunity for the school. So, but I know that there are students that could absolutely benefit from that. So what I'd like to know is if they aren't in the district, is there a way for them to be able to take advantage of the program, but outside of having to move into a district that offers it? You know what I mean?
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah. So
That's
it's even if they're in classes, being offered through the school, the formal school curriculum, be they on-site or off-site. I know some schools will offer it in curriculum, but you actually would go to a campus to take the classes. There are other circumstances where there might be educational opportunities actually afforded in the schools, though. The former is more likely. But yeah, if I could bring an answer back to you, I certainly will. Okay.
Mr. Kelsheimer, how is the loss of revenue of the early college students made up of Tri-C? So I'm assuming that if the high school students, they go free, I'm sure that caused some kind of loss of revenue. Whereas if we didn't have that program, they would just, spend funds for Tri-C. How has that been made up? How has that revenue been made up?
If you look at the revenue, ultimately the revenue sources for the college is there's a significant pool of taxpayer funding. There's also state funding, and then there are tuition dollars. And I could tell you that much time, effort, consternation goes into making sure that we effectively manage to lowest practical point the tuition fees and expenses for our students. As I look at the last 18 to 24 months, I won't give you a specific number because I don't want to misstate it, but I would suggest that Dr. Johnson has led initiatives that have been internally further led by Dr. Fulton and Dr. Miles, who's moved on to bigger and better things, is two leaders within his staff, and actually taken millions of dollars out of the cost structure of the college. So it's been just really practical belt tightening. In some cases, just better sourcing and purchasing. In other cases, management of benefits that that it would have appeared practical and appropriate to adjust relative to evolution and where competitive benefits might be. There, facilities cost, efficiencies in terms of how facilities are managed. But the vast majority of an offset as it relates to how the revenue expense model has been managed. It's been cost reductions leading up to the time of the levy approval.
And what's the oldest building in Tri-C? Like, I guess I'm assuming the main campus would be
Yeah,
the oldest structure.
I couldn't tell you the oldest building, but I would suggest that as I look at the various campuses and could say based on information that I've seen, the area where we do have some need for capital investment, capital reinvestment, it would be the Metropolitan campus. Actually, there are areas of the Western campus, but the Metropolitan campus in particular is could use some capital.
Okay, are you putting funding, is funding put aside for maintenance of the buildings? Okay.
Yes, deferred maintenance is a part of our budgeting process. We actually account for deferred maintenance, and then we would review ongoing, not less than annually, would look at a strategic plan for both operating budgets and also capital budgets. So not that any of us can predict the future, and it's a dynamic environment, especially as it relates to the funding for operations in current environment. But there is a lot of thought and discussion put into ensuring that we're thoughtful of, about our needs for capital, and then looking to match revenue sources with capital, be it federal funding, grant funding, taxpayer funding, or tuition and other fees.
Any other questions from the committee? Councilman Germano.
I just want to make a comment from the viewpoint of Tri-C West. The community, it is definitely part of the community. Going back 40 years when I was a JC, and we decided to try to bring fireworks to Tri-C, and you've hosted for all these years, and there's so many community events that happen at Tri-C. I think it's unusual that a college would take so much incentive to be a partner with all these Chamber of Commerce and all these community events that are hosted and participated in by Tri-C. Our Relay for Life, it's fabulous, and so on. I think that really helps us continue passing these levies. So I just wanted to add that part.
I think it's culture. Back to your question about tuition and costs. I think culture has something to do with that as well. In the higher education segment or industry, if you call it that, and culture at Tri-C. I can just tell you in the 12 or so years that I've been around the college and college leadership, the view that Tri-C is this community's college is one that's pervasive in the culture. And I give Dr. Thornton a lot of credit for that. I think Dr. Johnson has carried that viewpoint forward, and I don't see that changing. I think it's you sense it, you see it at the top, and then as you move out into the campuses. Each campus president, I do truly believe, feels an obligation to its neighborhood and its community as its true community, and wants to have a place in terms of integration as a partner to that community, no differently than we've seen over time. I think demonstration after demonstration of the college, seeing opportunities to fill jobs or to fill roles, collaborating with companies and industries within our greater region to make sure that there's a match of value proposition to needs. I think about, for example, when the gaming industry came to town, and there was a need for training for not just operating the tables, but food service, wait staff, et cetera. Tri-C found the space and did the training. Those are very practical things that lead to job creation, retention, and I think a higher quality lifestyle for many people who have a chance to benefit from that.
Any other questions from the committee? Mr. Kilsheimer, do you have anything else you'd like to share with us?
No, I thank you. Thank you for your
The same thing I
consideration.
shared with Ms. Forbes Fields. You're more than welcome to come down on Tuesday night, or you can watch us live stream. We want to thank each of you for coming out this morning. It means a lot to this committee as well as the residents of Cuyahoga County. We do have some followers live stream, and they can see the reappointments or appointments to committees that are made up of the boards and commissions around this county. So thank you both for coming. Before we have a vote for this item, we want to go back to the first one. These were both walk-on items, and I had forgot. So the first vote that we voted for second reading suspension needs to change, so we want to discontinue that and go for a second reading suspension due to the fact that they are voting on a chairman. So if I can have a motion to for R20150054, second reading suspension.
So move.
Is there a second? The vote has been changed. All in favor say aye. Aye. So 0054 was changed to second reading suspension. The item before us is R20150055. We are confirming an appointment and a reappointment to the Cuyahoga Community College Board of Trustees for second reading suspension. Is there a motion? All in favor say aye. Aye. Both items have been moved to the full committee of the whole. Thank you.
Thank you, Madam Chair. Thank you all for your service.
All right, there's a little bit of miscellaneous business, and I just wanted to bring up quickly, I know it's parade day, the pay equity study. And I hate that the administration left, because my question was to the administration, but just from the committee members, we want to move forward with having the consultant come for the pay equity study to be presented to us. So I just wanted to see if there was any objections from the committee members in regards to that. And the administration left, I should have.
Do we have a date for that?
My question to the administration was, I actually, council would like to move forward with the presentations of the findings, but my question directly to them, could we move forward with the interim director in place to make some decisions? So I will go upstairs and try and catch Mr. Kraus. So
Okay.
we're good with moving forward with that? All right.
Absolutely.
So this meeting, no other one is signed in for public comment?
No, Madam Chair.
Meeting adjourned.
You and the parade,